Imagine one man who painted the most famous smile in the whole world. The very same man drew flying machines 500 years before the first airplane ever left the ground. How is that even possible? His name was Leonardo da Vinci. He was a great painter, but he was also a scientist, an inventor, and a dreamer. He simply wanted to understand everything that he could see in the world. He filled thousands of pages with drawings, notes, and questions. Many of his ideas were so far ahead of his time that people only truly understood them hundreds of years later. This is his story. Leonardo was born in the year 1452 near a small hill town called Vinci in the region of Tuscany in Italy. The land all around him was green, quiet, warm, and completely full of life. His parents were never married. His father was a notary, a busy and important man of the law. His mother was a simple young woman who came from a village in the countryside nearby. Because of this, young Leonardo did not go to a famous school. He never learned Latin or Greek like the rich boys of his day. In many important ways, this curious little boy simply taught himself. But this freedom slowly became a great gift. Instead of only copying old books, Leonardo watched the real world with his own two eyes, and he asked why about almost everything that he saw. He loved the natural world very deeply. He watched the birds fly high above the hills and wondered how their wings really worked. He stared at the water and studied how it moved, spun, and turned. He watched the soft light slowly change on the hills each day. He looked closely at the tiny insects, at the flowers, and at the stones. To him, the whole world was one giant, wonderful puzzle, and most of all, he drew. He drew everything that he saw again and again without ever stopping. His young hand was quick and sure, and even as a small boy, his drawings were already full of life. At last, his father clearly noticed the boy's amazing talent. So he gathered together some of Leonardo's very best drawings and carried them to a famous and respected artist in the great city of Florence. That famous artist was named Verrocchio. He ran a busy and highly respected workshop right in the heart of Florence. There, young artists learned to paint, to sculpt, and to work skillfully with metal. When Verrocchio finally saw the drawings, he was truly amazed by them. He agreed at once to take Leonardo in as his own student. So, at around the age of 14, Leonardo moved to the great city. The workshop was a place of pure wonder for a curious boy. The apprentices mixed bright paints, prepared smooth wooden panels, and learned every skill by hand. Leonardo worked very hard and learned incredibly fast. He learned to paint and to sculpt and to truly understand light and shadow. He also began to study machines and tools because the clever Verrocchio designed and built many different and surprising things. One day, Verrocchio was busy painting a large picture of a baptism. He asked his talented young student to paint just one small angel down in the corner of the crowded and holy scene. Leonardo's little angel was so soft, so gentle, and so full of quiet life that it seemed to shine far brighter than the rest of the whole painting. In that moment, the young student had beaten his master. There is an old story that says Verrocchio was so amazed, and perhaps so deeply humbled by it, that he quietly put down his brush that very day and never painted a single picture ever again. Whether the old story is true or not, One thing was now very clear to everyone. Leonardo was no longer only a student. He was quickly becoming one of the finest young artists in all of Florence. But painting was only one small part of the man. His restless mind simply never rested for long. He was deeply curious about everything around him: the human body, water, light, plants, animals, and machines. So he began to keep notebooks always with him. Everywhere that he went, he carried them close by. He filled every single page with drawings, notes, sharp questions, and wild, wonderful, often impossible new ideas. He wrote in a very strange and unusual way. He wrote from right to left, completely backwards across the page. To read his private notes today, you often need to hold the page up to a mirror. Some people say he wrote this way simply because he was left-handed. Others believe he wanted to hide his clever ideas from his rivals. Perhaps it was just his own quiet, secret, and private world. In his notebooks, art and science became one single beautiful thing. A soft drawing of a human face sat right beside a careful plan for a machine. There, beauty and knowledge always lived happily together. He studied how the water flows in rivers and spins in deep whirlpools. He drew storms, waves, and great floods with incredible care, energy, and power, filling page after page after page after page. He studied the plants and the trees and how the light and shadow fall so softly on every single leaf. He wanted to paint the world exactly and truthfully, just as his own sharp eyes really saw it. For Leonardo, there was no line at all between an artist and a scientist. To paint the world truly well, he first had to understand it completely, deeply, and honestly, right down to its very bones. Leonardo wanted to understand the human body better than anyone else who was alive. He wanted to know not just its outer surface, but every hidden part, deep, deep inside of it. So he did something that was bold and shocking for his time. In secret, late at night, he studied the bodies of the dead. Very carefully and very slowly, he cut them open to look inside. It was difficult, lonely, and often very unpleasant work. But Leonardo bravely pushed through it all. He wanted to see the muscles, the bones, and the organs clearly and closely with his very own eyes. He drew the human body with stunning and almost perfect detail. His careful drawings of the muscles and the bones were so accurate that real doctors and scientists still deeply admire them even today. He studied the heart and how the warm blood moves and flows through it. He even drew a tiny unborn baby resting inside its mother, curled up gently and peacefully and fast asleep. No one before him had ever looked at the human body so closely and so carefully. In this alone, Leonardo was easily hundreds of years ahead of all the science of his own time. And yet, most of these truly amazing drawings stayed hidden away inside his private notebooks. The wider world would not see them or learn from them for a very, very long time to come. But Leonardo did not only study living things. He also dreamed endlessly of machines. His busy, restless mind was completely full of wild inventions, far, far beyond his own simple age. He watched the birds for many years, dreaming that people too might one day learn to fly. So he designed a flying machine with two great moving wings that a strong man could power all by himself. He also drew an idea for a machine that would spin fast in the air to lift itself straight up off the ground. It was a distant ancestor of the modern helicopter, imagined long, long before its time. He designed powerful war machines too, a giant crossbow, an armored cart much like a modern tank, and cannons of many strange new shapes. Powerful and hungry rulers wanted exactly these kinds of weapons. He drew careful plans for elegant bridges, for wide canals, and for clean, ordered city streets. He imagined safer and healthier cities, with fresh water flowing gently to every single place it was needed. He designed clever gears, tall cranes, and strong machines to lift very heavy weights. Many of these ideas would truly have worked in real life if only someone had taken the time to actually build them. But most of these bold machines were never built at all. There were no engines yet, no strong modern metals, and very often there was simply no money to build such enormous and expensive dreams. So his inventions waited, sleeping quietly upon the paper. They were like dreams sent back from a future that had not yet arrived. Leonardo, it truly seemed, had simply been born far, far too early. When Leonardo was about 30 years old, he moved to the great and wealthy city of Milan. There he went to work for its powerful and very ambitious ruler, the famous Duke Ludovico Sforza. For the Duke, Leonardo did almost everything you can imagine. He painted grand pictures, he designed clever weapons, and he even planned parties, music, and dazzling shows for the glittering royal court. It was there in Milan that Leonardo created one of his very greatest works of all. On the wall of a quiet convent, he slowly and carefully painted the famous and moving scene of the Last Supper. The painting showed Jesus and his 12 close friends together at their final meal. Leonardo somehow captured the exact moment of shock, sadness, and raw human emotion upon every single face around that table. It was beautiful, and it was full of deep human feeling. But Leonardo, always experimenting, decided to try a brand new painting method directly on the dry wall. Sadly, this one time, it did not last. Even during his own lifetime, the fresh paint slowly began to fade and to fall away. His great masterpiece was fragile from the very start, always quietly fading and always needing endless, careful repair. Leonardo also began work on a giant statue of a horse made all from bronze. It would have been the largest statue in the whole wide world. He worked on this one great dream for many long years. But then, without any warning, war suddenly came to Milan. The precious bronze meant for his horse was taken away and used to make cannons instead. The great statue was never finished. Another dream was lost. Leonardo returned once more to Florence, and there he began the painting that would one day become the most famous picture in the entire world. The small, quiet portrait that we now call the Mona Lisa. It was a portrait of a woman with a calm and deeply mysterious smile. Her gentle eyes seem to softly follow you across the room, and no one is ever quite sure what she is really thinking. For it, Leonardo used a special technique that he himself called sfumato. He blended the colors and the shadows together so softly and so gently that there were almost no hard lines to be seen at all. This soft, smoky style made his painted faces look truly alive, almost as if they could quietly breathe. It was a subtle secret of light and shadow that very few other artists could ever hope to copy. Leonardo loved this one small painting so very much that he never once gave it away. He carried it carefully with him for years and years, patiently adding tiny, gentle touches to it again and again. This was so very like Leonardo. He was a true and restless perfectionist. He started a great many works, but he actually finished only a few of them. In the end, he was almost never fully satisfied. Some of his patrons grew very angry, waiting for years and years for paintings that simply never came. But Leonardo could not be rushed by anyone at all. His endless curiosity always pulled him off somewhere new. These were hard and dangerous years all across Italy. Rich, proud cities fought each other, and armies marched across the land. Leonardo himself moved from place to place, quietly searching for both safety and work. For a time, he even worked as a military engineer for hire. He designed strong walls and clever defenses, and he studied detailed maps for powerful, ambitious, and sometimes very dangerous men. Back once again in Florence, he met a young and extremely proud artist named Michelangelo. These two great and stubborn geniuses did not like each other at all, and everyone around them could plainly see it. The two rivals were both asked to paint huge battle scenes upon the walls of the very same hall. It quickly became a famous contest between two of the greatest artists who have ever lived on this earth. But as had happened so often before, Leonardo's painting was never actually finished. He experimented yet again with his materials, and yet again the risky new technique sadly failed him upon the wall. Through all of these troubles and quiet disappointments, Leonardo simply kept watching, kept drawing, and kept asking his endless questions. His notebooks grew thicker and thicker, quietly filled with a whole lifetime of wonders. In his final years, Leonardo received a truly wonderful invitation. The young King of France, Francis I, warmly asked him to come and live in France as his deeply honored and personal guest. The king admired the old master enormously. He gave Leonardo a beautiful house, plenty of money, and something even more precious than gold itself: peace, real respect, and quiet, unhurried time simply to think. The king loved to visit him often, and simply to talk with him for hours at a time. He called Leonardo his dear friend, and he treated the old artist as the single greatest mind in the entire world. Leonardo da Vinci died in France in the year 1519, an old man, at last honored and truly loved. He left behind only a few finished paintings but also thousands upon thousands of pages full of ideas. His precious notebooks were scattered far across the world, and sadly, many of them were lost forever. But slowly, over time, people finally understood the truth. His mind had been whole centuries ahead of everyone else. In the very end, Leonardo showed us something truly beautiful. Art and science are not enemies at all. Curiosity itself is a precious and powerful gift, and the world quietly rewards those who never stop asking why. Thank you for listening to this story of Leonardo da Vinci. If it helped your English, listen again with the subtitles and repeat the sentences out loud. And keep practicing right now. Tap the video on the screen to watch the next story or open the playlist to keep listening. Please leave a like and subscribe because a new story is coming in just a few days. See you in the next one.